Hello, Reject Nation. It's Greg Alba here. So I posted a picture on Patreon showing that I was attending Justice League at IMAX. I got a lot more from it the second time I watched it. I said, like, do you guys want to hear my second thoughts? I think one person said yes, and I took that as everyone wants to hear my second thoughts on it. Oh, real quick, I want to give a shout out to a guy named Brandon. I didn't catch his last name. When I was walking out of the theater, Brandon, this tall black guy with his equally tall, beautiful black girlfriend. They're black. I don't know why I'm specifying that so much. It's just my thing, I guess. He seemed like kind of nervous to talk to me. His girlfriend had to tell me his name, and I thought it was really adorable. Yeah, he said he's like a big fan of the channel, and I'm like, oh, dude, you're so sweet. We hugged. He's a really great guy. You hear that, John? The rejects are in with the black community.
Are you telling America that we have a black friend? Is that what you're doing?
I'm not saying we have black friends. That's what you call your subscribers. Friends. Doesn't it work? I'm mocking YouTube. So John was not with me so he did not have a second viewing experience. That's why he's on this video. So I saw this film on IMAX this time, a real IMAX screen at Universal City Walk. About halfway through, it started dawning on me why I started feeling even better about this. Because if you watch my first review that I did with John, I admit that the film's pretty cheesy, it's corny, and it definitely has its flaws. I was still really entertained. So this is in no way me going, I hated it the first time, but I loved it the second time. I really liked it the first time. I thought it was very entertaining film, but the second time I walked out saying I love this movie. There's a few contributions as to why. First reason is watching on IMAX made a big difference, not because it's just IMAX and IMAX is glorified. It's because they specifically shot this with certain IMAX cameras. A lot of the time when I was watching it on the first time, which is just a regular 2D screen, I kept feeling like the visual effects were really off. Beyond Steppenwolf, it felt like a lot of it was off. And I felt like a lot of that had to do with the lighting, and I think I even made commentary about that, specifically in regards to Steppenwolf. Here's what I'll say. Steppenwolf still doesn't look great, no matter what IMAX screen you put him on. He still looks like a PS3 video game. Every other aspect to it, I mean, there are certain times where, you know, when Superman's fighting Steppenwolf where he looks like Agent Smith out of The Matrix Reloaded, or when the ship takes off and Alfred is standing at the water and he still looks like a video game. But a lot of the other visuals that I thought were like a little bit distracting just look significantly better on IMAX, especially the scene in Themyscira. That whole sequence looked amazing. First time I watched it, I was kind of distracted. This time around, even Steppenwolf's parts, I noticed, whoa, he's actually kind of scarier here this time around. And the sound design mixes way better. So I feel like the experience for this film is a little more accustomed for an IMAX. So beyond that, that's just the technical standpoint that I'm talking about. As far as just a movie-going experience overall, I think a lot of this would play better on a second viewing. And I bumped into a few people. Brandon, the guy I met, this was his fourth time watching it, and he says it gets better every time he watches it. And I could see this being that kind of film. There's the night that I went, you know, it's opening night. There's been a lot of talk about delays and the production problems behind the scenes, and it's coming off of BVS and Suicide Squad. You know, I know Wonder Woman's in between all that, but a lot of people are really going back to those because Batman's leading this and Superman's back in it. So there's all these thoughts just going through your head. Sometimes it makes it a little challenging just to sit back, relax, and enjoy the movie instead of having your observant eye on. And when you have that observant eye on, or sometimes a critical eye, you could walk away thinking a little bit more about the things you had issues with as opposed to the things you have problems with. And that's probably the main difference that I had with a second viewing. I didn't really care or think about the problems. Like, there's still, some of them are still there, evidently. Just overall, I really walked away thinking about what I love about this film. I didn't really notice it the first time. The opening of this movie, it's doing that Spider-Man Homecoming thing where someone's like recording Superman and he asks him, what do you love most about Earth? He looks off to the side and he gives this smile, and then the movie pretty much goes into its prologue with Batman hunting down a parademon. When Superman doesn't answer it, I remembered being in the theater the first time with observational eyes on, being like, oh my god, Superman still can't answer why he loves Earth. He doesn't love her, you know, because he just seems like in Man of Steel and BVS, he hates being Superman. Even my girlfriend, who I was taking her for the first time to watch this movie, she even made that comment out loud. I realized the second viewing, oh, he's talking about Lois Lane at the beginning of the movie. When he smiles, he wants to say Lois. What I really appreciated about this film on a second viewing was I saw a lot more of what they're going for. And I think with having already being introduced to these characters like Cyborg and Flash and Aquaman already on a first viewing, I don't have my observant eye on thinking about the information I gotta gather and the points I gotta take about who these guys are. On a second viewing, it actually felt like, yeah, that was plenty enough. For Flash, I thought that was plenty, and Cyborg, I thought was one of the strongest characters after first viewing, and I feel like he is still one of the strongest characters out of the Justice League movie, because his first scene is just so powerful when he's walking around, he's telling his dad about how he gets these upgrades, these alien upgrades, and he has this line, ever since Superman came to this planet, people have been worrying about the next alien invasion, he wonders if he's it, and that really hit home for me the first time, and I kind of forgot about that because it's so early in the movie, but the second time watching it, I'm realizing how effective that one line of dialogue really is for Cyborg's character. And the other thing too is because Observant Eye was on so much in the first viewing, I felt like, and I feel like a lot of people were saying this, that the film feels kind of rushed. The second time around, I didn't feel like it was a rushed movie going experience. I actually thought it had a really good pacing and it took its time pretty well. Pretty much each and every scene. I wasn't ever sitting there being like, this is moving way too fast. Whereas opposed to the first time, I felt like it was moving really fast. Even action sequences where I had a harder time picking up what was really going on, I was able to really see what was really going on. And it just made me appreciate the whole viewing experience a whole lot more. And the other note I took from it was how the film kind of starts off at a darker, a little more melancholy spot, and the film progressively gets lighter as it keeps going, which I thought was a unique touch. I think that when you go into Justice League and you think of end of the world scenario, you're expecting a film that kind of might get progressively darker as it keeps going, so that way you really feel the impact of end of the world being at stake and all that. To be truthfully honest with you, I feel like with the amount of films we get about end of the world happening, that no matter how hard Justice League tried, even if they tried harder and had, you know, another half hour to this movie, I don't think I would have bought those stakes either way, because I'm so sick of that scenario that I didn't really care about it anymore. I found myself walking away a second time going, I just really love this team. I really love these actors. I love their chemistry. And I do feel that the film has a lot more character and humanity that you can gather from it the second viewing experience. And I appreciate how this film does start off on a darker side. You know, it's like Superman. You don't feel like Superman's been reinvented from the very first scene. When you cut to Batman, he's in Gotham City. And that was another note I took. I feel like when you walk away from this movie a first time, there are some moments and scenes, and especially Steppenwolf, where it just looks awful in terms of visual effects. It just looks awful. So you walk away being like, the visual effects are pretty bad in this movie. The second time I'm watching it, I'm like, how come no one ever talks about good CGI anymore? This film, when they're in Gotham, I'm like, this is beautiful, especially on IMAX. And the first time I watched it, I thought it too. This looks so amazing. The Gotham visuals are a delight. And this is one thing you gotta give this movie over most Marvel films. There's a unique cinematography to this movie, and there's such distinct visuals and framing. You just don't get that kind of style with a lot of other comic book movies. And I really feel like the Justice League movie has so many shots in it where you're like, this looks straight out of a comic book, and I love it. It does tend a lot to that inner child within who loves the comics, or who just love like the Saturday morning cartoons, or like watching these characters cross over in shows. And when the film starts off darker, you know, with Batman and even Wonder Woman, it's like, even though it's a lighter tone with her because it's Wonder Woman, she's still dealing with a pretty dark scenario. They walk into a bank, they're gunning down human beings in a building. This guy wants to blow up a part of the city because, you know, dark ages are coming. And Flash going to see his dad, and Cyborg where he's at. I really appreciated how this film, the second time I got it, I got more of what they were intending, which was that feeling of heroism. I walked away feeling the unity. It sounds cheesy as shit, but it's true. When they say unite the league, that's what I felt, was a sense of unity from the team. I walked away way less thinking about the issues I had with it, because at the end of the day, I did show up to see the Justice League unite. Yes, would I have liked Steppenwolf to have been a better villain? Of course I would have, because that would have made the team dynamics feel even stronger. That would have made the mission in itself feel even stronger. But these characters' own personal journeys I found engaging enough. By the end of the movie, I really felt that when Superman says, "I like living," or "I like being alive," one of those lines, I really walked away from that moment being like, this is why Superman is able to be reinvented, because he died and now he's back, so he's been reinvented, he likes living, so it makes sense why he's all smiles and stuff. For some reason, I didn't really notice it the first time I watched it because I was so taken back by that one line by Superman, but Cyborg says the same line too, right with Superman. And I said audibly the second time watching this, I went, aw, Cyborg likes to live now. You have Cyborg's journey, coming to terms with that he wants to live and he can see himself being a hero, and this is a gift that he has. And Flash with getting a job, making his dad happy, and making some friends, he's grown. Batman successfully doing his job as a leader, I found effective. And Wonder Woman deciding to be a beacon of hope again, deciding to be a light instead of hiding. I am a little questionable still when she like has those bad guys at the end tied up and she just has her face showing, because I'm thinking anyone she's done work with will now know that she's Wonder Woman. I don't know if she's aiming on keeping it a secret identity or not, but the fact that she's out in the light. So that's why when it gets all heroic cheesy in the finale, I didn't mind it. I really don't mind it. When Alfred's like, it's not the plan, it's the team. And he has this goofy smile on his face, and then they all defeat the day, defeat Steppenwolf, and they're all doing their heroic poses side by side with each other. It's cheesy, but rewarding at the same time. I felt that hope. I felt that light, as opposed to it's observational the first time I'm watching it, and I have to really soak all this information in. For me, it's easier to sit back and relax and enjoy it on a second viewing experience. And I walked away being like, you know what? I love this film. It's really entertaining. Yes, them defeating Steppenwolf is a part of the plot, an important part. I walked away enough with these characters' own personal journey, and that's what mattered to me most, was watching these guys grow. And that's why I think a lot of us are still very excited to see their own solo adventures. And as far as visual effects being better, even when they go to Atlantis, I thought that looked absolutely horrible the first time I watched it. Watching it on IMAX, it looks so much better. Not because it's bigger, but they obviously adjust their visual style for the IMAX cameras. You have to always adjust for whatever camera you're shooting on. So when you're seeing it on the format it's meant to be seen on, it just looks better. Last thing, Superman's mustache printing, I don't even notice it. I don't, you know, like I think I said in the review that one time I noticed it, and then the second time watching it, I'm like, I really can't notice it. It's not a big deal. Superman's the best part of this movie. So I gotta say, you know, I don't think this film deserves a 38% or 40%, whatever it's at, on Rotten Tomatoes. The user score is really high. Most people I'm bumping into are saying they really enjoyed the film. And if you like listen to a lot of the reviews on YouTube, most people seem to be saying they really enjoyed the film. For this Rotten Tomatoes score to be so low is bullshit to begin with. And Rotten Tomatoes isn't everything, I know that. I just think it might be playing a factor into the box office experience, when I think this is a wonderful movie going experience. I think it's a fantastic experience to go to the theaters and check it out. I encourage more people to go watch this movie, and if anything, I encourage you guys to go watch it again if you've only seen it one time, because you might be like me and realize this film is even better than you thought. I already liked it the first time, now I love it. And I know one person who didn't really like it, and they said the second time they saw it, they actually ended up liking it. The best comparison I could give it is honestly The Dark Knight Rises. First time I saw The Dark Knight Rises, I didn't really like it. I walked away thinking about all the problems with the film. Second time I watched it, which was on IMAX, the visual aesthetic, it works better because it's shot with IMAX cameras. And secondly, I walk away thinking a lot more about what I like about the film than the things I had issues with. Go watch Justice League again if you've only seen it one time. I highly encourage you. So if you guys have seen it twice, why don't you leave a comment down below and give me your thoughts on what you thought about it second time watching it. Was it better the second time? Was it worse the second time? For me personally, I thought it was even better than the first time, and I feel like they really accomplished this film. All right, well, you guys can subscribe to The Real Rejects. Click that notification bell. Follow us on social media. Right now, the Reject community is a big part of the Stardust app. We're really making sure to include that with us. You do 30-second reactions for any film, TV show, or trailer. And if you'd like to see more exclusive daily posts from The Real Rejects, which are usually a video or two, go check out our Patreon. Become a Patron Eject today. It helps support the channel, and in return, we try to give you guys a lot of stuff worthwhile as well. So thank you all.